Guten Tag, I'm Mr. Orange and welcome back to my log lab. Have you ever wondered how you can clean, organize and document your logs? Then you have come to the right place. Today I show you how I clean, organize, document and store my logs with an example of a recently ordered log that just arrived. My goal is to give you an inspiration to keep your log collection clean and well organized. You can take every bit of information and adjust it to your needs. This is how you must do it. This is just my way of doing it and how I find it appropriate. Also, you can leave comments if you have any suggestions and questions. Alright, without further ado, let's start with the first step of my process. This is the ISEO or ISEO from, I guess it's Italy, R6, which is a dimple log, which you can see definitely here, which is a dimple log. It has 4 keys. It is bought used, but for me it actually looks pretty clean. But sometimes you get some logs you actually don't know where they come from or what kind of log it is. Maybe you have the brand name but not the model name or the product itself or whatever you call it. And then you have to do your research first. And there are several ways you can do the research. The first place I go would be like the LPU log search or log belt search, whatever you call it. I will just put a link for that in the description, and there I would just look it up. In this case, I know it's the ISEO R6, so I just look it up. Maybe I see some pictures of it where someone has gutted it, so I know kind of what is expecting me. If I don't know the log, then I would just go with the brand name, look up what looks kind of like it, but this is definitely better if you do it after you gutted it, because then you know how the pin sticks are arranged, what kind of pins they're using and stuff like that. The second place I would go is definitely go on YouTube and look up some guys who have maybe already gutted it, because especially in higher security logs or higher pin count logs and stuff like that, they maybe not really put together the standard way. Maybe they have some specialties, and then you can just watch that video. There are better ones or worse ones, but then you see what and how the log is built up, and don't fall into any trap while gutting it, and don't break it or even destroy it completely. Then if I still have any questions or try to identify it, I can ask on the LPU Discord. And if you don't find anything there or in the previous places, then you have to do the old good research the web, maybe some websites that still sell kind of that log or the manufacturer itself. For the gutting, it is practically just taking the whole log apart, and it is the preparation for cleaning it, and if you don't know what log it is, for identification. So in this video I don't want to go into detail of gutting. I did this in another video which you can see here, or go there and watch it, how to gut a double cylinder. It's just part of the whole procedure. That's why I took it into this video. Okay, let's have some fun gutting it. And what I do now is actually taking a picture of this situation. It doesn't have to be clean or something. I just want to know how the pins are, even on more high security logs. This one, it's pretty easy actually. That's not very high security. All right. Okay, for cleaning we need all the log parts. I like to have a big pair of tweezers just because I have to dip them down now in some liquid. So the next, or this whole step is really a bit depending on how the condition of the log is. Is it very old? Is it very dirty? I had a log that had I can show you a picture here, that had a lot of debris coming out, and it was only one side, the other side was the same again, and that was very, very dirty. Be prepared for that. That is why I like using my gloves here when I do that, because there are a lot of liquids, chemicals, dirt, debris, material of the log, maybe some wear and tear that is inside and comes out. So on this log here, it is not very dirty. So what I like here is the what is it called actually? The isopropyl, you know, the alcohol you use to clean electronics. Maybe I should have looked that up earlier. That is very non-aggressive against all the metal parts. Not if you have plastic parts, I would be a bit more cautious and use maybe just some water and soap. But I really like to use it. It helped me a lot to get stuff, especially if you have oily stuff, to get it rid of. If it's more hard to get rid of that and get it off, then I use, as I said, the brake cleaner. All right, so what I do now, that's why I took the picture, because now on especially this kind of an easy or mid security log, I will just throw everything together. Right, we have now now we have all the parts in the baskets, all the parts we want to put in the ultrasonic cleaner, and let's prepare the ultrasonic cleaner. All right, so I just put the first basket inside, and we let it run for 480 seconds. All right, the first run is ready. Let's take it out, and actually the water's so very clean. So this is a very bad example for cleaning a log that has not been this dirty this time. But yeah, it looks pretty clean. So what I do now is taking all the basket out to put it here aside on the drying towel. I do already the drying for the big parts now. And what I use this for is like a dry blower, or whatever you call it. You can use a like a like thing you for your hair blower, or I don't know, whatever you want. You can try to dry it in any way you want, but I like to blow it. Right, then I just dry it, and in between I just knock it on the table to get all the water out. This is so clean. Yeah, we do a run, but a very short one. So, and now we go into drying. What I do is here is just taking the basket, using the towel to make a lid, and press my hand on it. Take the blow dry, put it inside, and leaving just a hole big enough. That should actually be enough. Open it slowly. Sometimes on this kind of towel the springs get caught here, but it doesn't seem like it. Everything is there. And let's look at all the parts. They're now dry and clean, and we will clean up now here and go to the next step. So what I use is any kind of pinning tray. You can use whatever you want. I really like for this kind of log using this pinning tray that has been sent to me by Log Fumbler. Maybe you know him. He 3D printed it and sent it to me. Very thankful for that. I really like that, especially since it is fitting in a CD case. Maybe the older folks still know what that is, but it's very handy. It fits inside, or it is inside of this, and you can put pins inside and secure them with a lid and put them away. But actually for taking pictures, I like to take the inlay out and use it for the pinning. So what I do with the rearranging is looking at the image I've taken before, where I know, okay, this is the pinning. In this log, it's pretty easy. We know how the driver pins and should be, yeah, also the key pins. But the key pins, it is a bit harder now because everything is just tossed into this little basket, and we have to find out which pin goes where. All right. So now we take pictures of that. All right. We have taken all the pictures, so now the next step is actually reassembling the whole log. Okay, with reassembling, the first thing I do is back the cam, because I don't want to use that cam anymore, or at least not if I pick it or put it into my box. So all cam related stuff I don't need here. We need that later. I'll just put it aside for now. So now we just, put it back together. Right. This is mostly the tools we need for reassembling it. I've shown it in another video, so don't want to go into detail in this video. So we just do it and enjoy it. All right. So we assembled the log now. Right, so now after reassembling it, we want to give it a name, label all the stuff we have, and that's all I need. I printed with just a normal label printer some labels. The smaller ones are for the cylinder itself in this case, and the bigger ones are ones for the back side of the key, the front side of the key, and last but not least, the back with the cam. Right, we now put labels on all the stuff, and one thing, why have I put it on each side, is just if it's in the box, I can more easily see if it lies on that side, which lock it is, or on that side. It doesn't matter to me. This is the one key, and the one key that is, if I need a key, that is what I use. The other keys get just stored away, and what I do for storing the key I use is I have these little boxes here, and I have several ones of these for different colors. And you see already there are all the lock keys already in. I just put it in there. This log had a lot of keys, 4 more keys. We put them on that heavy ring. I tend to keep those rings, especially if I get a log that has none, just to group them together. And what I do with these keys, this is the key box, and which has all the keys inside, and I just throw it in there. All right, so now only the tape is missing on this one, so we get a tape that is just normal electrical tape. Also these you can order on Amazon, or every belt color. So what I can also show you is my box full of key tags. So there's a bunch and all colors of the belts. All right, let's take the tape. Now we have our little log, safety first. And we have a little log which just looks like this now. And you easily can spot this in a box where all the other logs are. And now I can easily put it in here, the long one. And it's in there. I see which color the log is, and it doesn't matter if it lies on this side or I just turn it around. I just see, okay, this is the color, this is the log. And there's one small addition to that, a box of padlocks. It's a bit different how I organize them. I use these little dots, maybe you have seen them already, just to mark the color. And not always, but most of the time, sometimes if I have more of them, I just put the tags on, a bit different, bit smaller. One note on the tags you have seen before, I do the brand name, the model name, and then what I call an inventory number. Right, so we forgot one part of the storing. It's the cam, and that is just as easy as my logs. So and what I do with the cams, just put them in here. And if I need them, I know where they are, and they are labeled, so I just know. Well, we have now reached the last step of my procedure, which is documenting my logs, or the log we have inspected, cleaned, and taken photos of. This monstrosity of a table contains every bit of information of any log I own. This means there is a lot of work to put the information into, but when I look the log up, at one glance I see which elements it has, which condition it is, which housing, and so on. And we will go through each of these columns you see here when we do the entry for the R6 ISEO. You see already some colors which have some meaning. So no color is everything on the log is completed. I have completed the documentation of it. Then you see yellow, which means there is still some stuff to do. We will see that when we do the entry. You see blue, which means these are logs that are for sale that I sell at the lpulogs.com website or on a seller's sheet where you can buy them from. And we have a third or fourth color is deep red. We have one or two, which means these logs are bricked, so there is some kind of broken, which are not usable right now. Sometimes I can do some steps and unbrick it, but sometimes they are bricked for good. Now we do just the entry for the ISEO R6, the log we have inspected, cleaned, and taken photos of in this video. So let's start with the description. Actually, this table has a lot of automations already, and the description is just text that is put together by some information I put into here. So the first one, we'll just leave it. It will appear, or the information will appear as we go on. So we start with the column of the make. In this case, it is the ISEO. Then the model is the R6. The next column is the inventory number. This number I use just to identify my logs. If I have multiple logs of one model and make, then they just use different numbers like 1, 2, 3, and so on. And sometimes I have a double cylinder which I cut into two halves, then they are kind of the same log, but then they get distinguished by A or B, which you see here at the word log. There's an A and B side. With the ISEO we have just one, so it's the one. Then we go on to the mechanism. In this case, it's a dimple. The next column is the housing. And in this case, there is a difference to what you have seen in the video. We have inspected a double Euro cylinder, but as I already said with the pictures we've taken, that in the meantime, I have sold 1/2 of it. So it's just now a euro double cut in this case. The elements are, as we have also seen while inspecting, is 6 key pins, 6 KP, 6 driver pins. There are some more complicated logs which have maybe even more of that, which you see here, or have different ones like sliders, sidebars. These are abbreviations I have just made up, and I know what it's behind that or what the meaning of these abbreviations is. The next column are the number of keys or amount of keys. There were originally 4 keys. We have now only 2 keys left. So that's why I put a 2 in there. The next column is the condition. And the condition is something I really have to consider. I have different entries for or possibilities for the condition. We have already seen the bricked one, but then we have a used one, which means these are logs that have traces of use, but I have never opened and inspected or cleaned them. Then the next one is the refurbished one, which is also a used one, but I have cleaned, inspected, and seen what's in there and how they work and make sure they're working. New one would be a log which I have not opened and inspected or cleaned and has little to no traces of any use or damage or something like that. Sometimes they can have some scratches on the outside of the housing due to storing the log or maybe mishandling it, but then I have to consider if it's new, if it's used, or maybe I just put it apart and look into the log and then decide which condition it is. But then we get to the new and inspected, which just means it's a new one, little to no traces of use, and I have opened it, inspected it, and maybe, or most of the time actually, I have cleaned it, so it is in very good condition. The original condition, actually I don't have any logs in original condition, means the log is still in its sealed original packaging. It hasn't been touched. I have this condition here if I ever get across one of these logs. In the case of the ISEO R6, I would consider that as a refurbished one. So it has some used or traces of use, and we have inspected it, we have cleaned it, everything's fine, even though it wasn't that dirty, but still consider as used. The next column is if it's guttable, and yes, it is indeed. And next one is if we had any mastering or discovered any mastering on that. We don't have any, so a 0 gets in there. Does it have a secure card? Is the next column. Nope. So we don't tick that. Is it for sale? Nope. And then we get to the belt ranking. And in this case, the belt ranking is a green one. The next column would be Dan points. Green, orange, don't have any Dan points. You can look up the Dan point or the Dan system on lpubelts.com. Did we pick the log yet? Nope, no ticking. Did we inspect it? Yes. Have we taken any images? We have. Is the log labeled? That means has it a label? Has it its color tape on it? It has. Then we have the keys. Are they tagged? So have they the little tag with the right color on it? Yes. Then we see the to-do column. And you see what is still to do to get the log completed. And I still see images, which just means I only need to put the link for the images into that, and the log is considered as completed or fully documented. Now you see the entry is white, so everything that is mandatory has been completed. The last part I do here is the link of the LPU Belt Explorer. So for that entry, click on the chain symbol, get the link, and put it in here. That's a fairly new column. As you see, most of the entries don't have it yet. Now we see every information or bit information of that log is here, and I can identify it. I see what it's made of. how the condition is. And so it is way easier with a lot of logs to trace them down and everything on one place. And that's how I like to do it. And so we have concluded all the procedure of inspecting, cleaning, also identifying and documenting any log I get into my hands. And if you like the video, then leave a like or ask questions in the comments if you have any. I hope it helped you somehow to get your collection ordered and maybe documented. I can share also any experience or information I have on this topic to you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was good information for you. And we see us in the next video. And auf Wiedersehen.